Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Fundraising BIDness Talk. My name's Patrick Siver. I'm the owner and lead auctioneer at G Events based in Beaverton, Oregon, where it's a little overcast today. We had a little surprise earlier this week and got snow in April, the latest time that we've ever gotten snow. It was 80 degrees last Thursday, and on I think it was Tuesday we woke up, or Monday we woke up to snow. So anyhow, things change just like the fundraising auction business, and that's what we're here to talk about today. And as we get started, folks, I want to encourage you. If you're tuning in, please, type in the old chat window there. Say hello. Tell us where you're tuning in from today. We'd love to chat back. Say hello. And also, as always, this is a two-way forum. Feel free to ask any questions. We'd love to answer, hear what you're thinking, what your thoughts are, and we would love to be able to answer any questions that you may have. So our focus today, folks, is really what's happening in our business. We're probably 2/3 of the way now through the spring auction season. I think we've got another 10 or 12 events for the rest of the spring season. For those who don't know, here in the Northwest, the fundraising auction season tends to kind of follow the school year. And so we're excited that we're right in the middle of it. We'll be off this weekend because of Easter, but our schools get out in June, middle of June. So we traditionally have fundraising auction events all the way up until the end of May. And so that's kind of what our schedule looks like today. And so I wanted to share with you some of the things that I'm seeing that are working really well, and hopefully maybe you can incorporate or consider incorporating them into your events as you're planning for events later this year or for next year, because our industry has changed a lot in the last 24 months, 27 months. And if you're doing things the way you were, you're probably leaving some money on the table. And so we're going to talk about some different things and go from there. So I did an event this last weekend for a group. I did two events this weekend, Friday and Saturday. I did a 100% virtual event for our good friends at BIDness Spanish Immersion Charter School, which is where my career got started. My former wife, Danielle, and her buddy, Mary, started the school 13 years ago. And that's where I first got roped into being a volunteer auctioneer for the event, and then 10 years later doing it full time as a big part of my business. So we did BIDness 100% virtual with a watch party, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then the second event I did Saturday night was really fun. It was an in-person event. It was my second weekend in a row up at the Oregon Golf Club, which is a fabulous facility up in West Linn, Oregon, just southwest of town, and an incredible venue, wonderful golf club, golf course designed by Peter Jacobson, and they have a wonderful pavilion. It's about 6,500 square feet, and it serves as a wonderful venue. But we were with our friends up there from With Love and had a huge night for them. 360 people in the room. I had to stay on the stage because there was no room for me to walk through the crowd. It was that crowded, and it was fabulous stuff. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm actually gonna give you a feel for some of the different things that I think are key to success. We're having a lot of success right now, and I want to talk about some of those things that are you should probably consider in organizing your event coming forward. So the first one is that the days of promoting the one night or the one day of our gathering event in my mind are gone. I used to say a week of giving. Our friends this week at With Love called it a week of generosity, and I thought it was really fitting, and it was very really kind of set the tone. And when we talk about a week of generosity or a week of giving, what do we mean, Patrick? And what I mean is that you're going to incorporate in your, whether you're having a gathering event or virtual event, you're going to incorporate some form of online bidding. If you're not, I think you're leaving money on the table. We talk about that Online bidding is huge now. It's the only way. It's replaced the silent auction. In fact, I'm really adamant about not talking about silent auctions. But we're going to start that week of generosity with the kickoff of our online auction, and then it's going to operate for a week, and then we're going to close with a crescendo, which could be that gathering event, could be that live stream event. Either way, the week of generosity, I think, is really, really key. The other thing that I see coming up a lot is our run of shows have changed. I think of it today. We kind of hit a magic point when we were doing virtual, of knowing that an hour was really about the maximum time that we could keep someone's attention. Interestingly enough, when we started live streaming events, they told us you couldn't keep anybody's attention for 20 minutes. I think that, that might have been the traditional situation for some groups, right, in the live streaming world. But for us today, I think we found in the virtual fundraising world that an hour was about the right time. And so what I've seen is we've moved back to in-person events. I think of that run of show. Yes, it might start with a social hour, might include a dinner. The entire event might be a few hours. Let's say arrive at 5:30 and you're all done by 9. Hopefully, 9 o'clock still remains the witching hour in my mind in the fundraising world. We like to be 100% done with fundraising before 9 if we're going to have a successful event. But what I see is that we've condensed the fundraising portion of the run of the show. And what I talk about is a 1-hour fundraising window. And that would include our live auction, our special appeal, any type of gamification or any type of raffle acknowledgement, things of that nature, in a 1-hour fundraising run of show. So we might have a dinner that starts off with some opening remarks. I would always encourage you to keep those short. When people sit down and their salads are in front of them, or they're going to have to get up and go to a buffet, they're hungry at that point. I would just make sure to set the tone for the evening, maybe a welcome message from a key individual on the board or a key member of the team, and then excuse them for dinner and let people get their dinner, whether it's being plated to them or it's going to be on a buffet. Even today, I'm a little bit more open to buffets than I ever was pre-COVID, which is kind of funny actually, because the COVID part of it doesn't sound perfect, but from a service standpoint, people are really into being social right now. But when we come back and we start the fundraising, I would really, really like to see that we get that fundraising done in an hour. And for me, I know that is a special appeal and 5 live auction packages. And so that's kind of, I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. The other thing that I have noticed is that we've got generous donors out there. Of the events I've done this spring, I think every one of them has had incredible success in their world relative to what they were doing. Especially in-person events have really seen an uptick in success. I know we've set several records for organizations so far. I just saw a post this morning. I was actually going to share it on the screen, but I didn't set it up. The group we did last week or the week before just announced they reached an all-time high. I know another group that we did in February reached an all-time high. So, and I think this last weekend was an all-time high for the group on Saturday night. So generous donors. I'm seeing some incredible generosity in the room. People, bid paddles are flying. And so that's been exciting to watch. The other thing that I want to touch about is, and I was just watching my good friend Freddie Silvera. Freddie's an incredibly talented auctioneer, fundraising strategist out of the Bay Area, Sacramento area, I believe. And he was doing a webinar for one of the auction platforms, one of the auction software platforms. And he brought this up. Where do we position our paddle raise and our special appeal, or our special appeal? Everybody calls it something different. Prior to COVID, I would say in the Northwest, it was pretty standard operating procedure that it would It would be after the live auction. If you had 10 items or less, it would be about 2/3 of the way through the live auction if you had 11 or more items in your packages in your live auction. One of the things that we did when we moved to virtual was we were really adamant about getting that paddle race first. And the reason we did was because we didn't know how long we were going to keep people's attention. And so I've seen that continue. That's been my recommendation for most groups. Of course, every group's different, every group's unique, but I think it's something to consider that putting that appeal first before the live auction is incredibly powerful. It helps you build rapport with the group. I think it builds, you have that, you have their attention, right? You have 100% of their attention, because it's the first thing. It starts with your program after dinner served. If it's a live event or if it's a virtual event, it happens right when the program starts. It's everybody's fired up, paying attention, and you get their attention. Now, in talking to auctioneers around the country about this, both prior to COVID and now, there was many parts of the country that they've always believed that you should do the appeal first. I know our good friends in New York have felt that way. The Florida contingency has felt that way for many, many years. And they would always argue, with the folks from our area here in the Pacific Northwest that, people were going to try to bid on live auction packages. And if they hadn't, if they were successful or not, would influence their give at the paddle raise. And the guys on the East Coast would argue all day long that wasn't the case, that they would see people bid $5,000-$10,000 on a trip, not win it, and then give $500 at the paddle raise, not $5,000 or $10,000. So I tended to agree with that philosophy. I think sometimes what you give at the paddle raise and what you bid on a live auction package come out of two buckets out of your budget at home. That sometimes you're utilizing maybe some of your vacation budget to support your favorite nonprofit during the auction with that special experience trip that you were going to take, that you were going to buy anyway. If you can buy it from your favorite nonprofit, that's even better. If not, what you were going to give as a donation, as a charitable donation, comes from a different account in your mind, right? Different bucket, as we like to say. So I'm seeing a lot of success. I'm a firm believer in paddle raise first, special appeal first, coming right out of the dinner, having that compelling moment, that mission moment, sharing what's happening in the organization and why we need people's support that night. I think it also simplifies your run of show. I think that there have been situations in the past when you do that paddle raise later in the program, maybe it's for two different things. The paddle raises for one thing and the auctions for another. I think that that's a confusing message for folks. It also might have, you might have had a duplicate in speakers, duplication, and that, somebody would have to get up and talk about what we're raising money for to start off the auction, and then someone else would come back and we would share a different story or a different reason, or maybe it was the same one for, I find a lot of my groups today in this environment, in this economic environment, are really trying to cover general operating expenses and not necessarily that new playground or that new HVAC or that new special project, right? And so it's the same purpose, whether, with all the funds from the event. And so having that one message, that one mission moment, I think is incredibly powerful. And getting it started right from the beginning, you've got everybody's attention. And here's the thing I've noticed with this is that if we start the live auction and I've got a room of 360 people, and let's say we have 5 packages, I think it's a high number to think that I'm going to have 30 people bid on those 5 packages at some point. Okay. I think that, if I can get 30 different bid paddles up during a live auction for 5 packages, that I've done a lot. So we've gotten a lot of activity. So when I think about it, I try to get 100% of the paddles up during a special appeal. So if we start with the special appeal, those people are still paying attention. If we're going to do it after a live auction, maybe say 5 items, or something along those lines, then those people have been chatting. They've been doing other things since we started the live auction because they didn't think they were going to participate in the live auction, or maybe they chose not to participate in the live auction. I don't find anybody that participates in the special appeal not participate in the live auction. That's the bottom line, right? And so I'm pretty adamant about this, and I make the recommendations as always, right? I make a lot of recommendations, and if the client wants to go a different way, that's totally their call. I think my role as a professional fundraising strategist is to really share with you the concepts, the ways that I think, what I have learned from my experience doing, 40 some odd events a year, plus, my background in raising funds through golf tournaments for the last 30 some odd years. I'm pretty adamant about sharing what I know. And if the client chooses to use it, great. If they don't, that's okay too. But at least we'll have discussed it. So keep that in mind, folks, moving forward. Think about putting your paddle raise first. It makes a lot of sense to me, and we've seen a lot of success. So as we go along here, I see we've got a comment. Hey, our good buddy Tim Stewart. In fact, Tim was with us just the other night. Tim's an outstanding auctioneer, does benefits, but also really focuses on real estate and other areas of the auction business also. And he was with us the other night on Saturday night, and is always a very, very important part of the team. Whenever we have Tim in the room with us, it's great. So Tim, thanks for joining us this afternoon. Looking forward to seeing you, I think next week, not this weekend, but the following weekend. We're going to be out across town doing our event with Central Catholic, which will be a lot of fun, and get to work with Tim there. So thanks for joining in today, Tim. Hey, folks, as we, so think about that, starting with a paddle raise in your program, make that the start of your fundraising run of show, and start with it and see what happens. I think you'll be amazed. Okay. And then the other thing, I touched on this briefly a minute ago, online auctions are key. I think that in our society today, we've learned a lot of things about COVID. One was that we were, and I think probably reasonably so, we were segregating our group of donors in the past, in that if you didn't buy a ticket and get dressed up and come to our event, then we didn't allow you to participate. And I think that, whether that was right or wrong doesn't really matter. It's water under the bridge. I think today that we have learned through virtual that we want to let everybody participate in some fashion. We want to give everybody an opportunity to support our favorite nonprofits. And so one of the greatest ways to do that is with the online auction. There's no more silent auctions. I'm not seeing silent auctions in any of the gathering events that I'm doing today. We are, even in the gathering events, we're doing online, and we're focused on it, and we're having incredible, incredible success. There's a low barrier to entry. It runs longer. And when I say run, we've all heard me say, start it a week before your event. Don't start it on a weekend. So if your gathering event or your live stream for some reason is going to be on a Saturday, start your online auction 8 days and make it start on Friday, right? Always encourage starting with a kickoff live stream to share it with your social media account and start promoting it. And then I'm going to close that event. I'm always going to recommend closing that online auction after the gathering event or after the live stream, but quickly after. So like a half hour, maybe an hour. Really take advantage of that opportunity when you have everybody together in the same room to, promote. Hey, the live auction bidding or the online auction bidding will end, 30 minutes from now, or, have a great evening, that type of stuff. I think it's incredibly powerful. I've been really surprised at some of the groups that recommend leaving your online auction open for 2 or 3 days past the event. I'm told that they get some bids. It's not that much activity. I think it's my personal opinion. It's usually because I think it's usually, had they done a better job of promoting their online auction capabilities or their online auction event before the event, when it started and through that week of generosity, that they would have more success. So keep that in mind. The other thing is really stay away from using the term silent auction. I think silent auction, I think our audiences recognize that a silent auction is on paper bid sheets. There's only so many lines, and I got to be in person looking at the item to make a bid. And I think if somebody reads quickly and they see silent auction, they don't think that they can participate if they don't have a ticket, right? So always promote online auction, online auction, online auction. Okay. And then the other thing that I've learned through this period, especially this spring, is displaying of online auction packages at a gathering event is unnecessary. People have had a week, 24/7. The window's been open for them to look and check out the packages, do their research. I find that they're doing the research. I haven't had anybody ask me yet, where are the packages? I want to see a package. Okay. I want to see that gift certificate to the steak restaurant. Doesn't happen, folks. And for your committee and your volunteers in organizing all of that, there's so many positives about not having to display those items. One's the amount of time it takes to transport them, the amount of time it takes to print the description sheets, to manage that inventory, to put them on display, to have tables and chairs, all the things that go along with displaying those items. I don't think it's worth it. If you're following what I say about closing your online auction after your gathering event, there's a high probability that the majority of your item or a percentage of your items are not going to be purchased that night. If you're going to close after the event, then I would not even bring them to the event. Now, had a group, we talked about this. They felt like they wanted to close it at 7:15, shortly before dinner. And so they did, and they brought their packages. Now, they did not display them, but they had them available for people to pick up on their way out. And that makes sense. 100% agree with that, as long as you have the space and the people to organize it, right? What I'm finding right now is there's a lot of organizations that are really struggling finding volunteers. This group this weekend had a significant number of volunteers. I don't have a hard count on it, but I was amazed when I got there and they were all being trained and they were all over the place. Great support for this group. But normally I hear from most of my committee chairs that they're having a tough time following volunteers. So if you can leave those online auction packages without having to display them. The other thing to keep in mind here, folks, is that it also dictates or influences how much space you need for your venue, for your event. So in theory, you might be able to choose a smaller venue, and smaller venue may cost less. Maybe you don't need as much time to set up. So access to the venue is not as crucial, things of that nature, right? So the only time I really recommend displaying an online auction packages is if it is incredibly unique. And when I say that, I think back to a few years ago, I was involved with an event that had a custom painted Vespa scooter, okay? And it had this special paint job on it. And it was phenomenal, right? And a picture of it on a website would never have done it justice. And I think that I would, having that on display would have increased the bidding on it, right? But I would display it at the event during the social hour. I'd put a QR code next to it so that people could just click on it and bid. It would be, take advantage of the auction, take advantage of the technology we have at our disposal now, right? The other thing that I'm seeing that is working really well, and it's interesting how this has worked, okay, is that it used to be people would show up to your gathering event and they had no clue what was available in the live auction, right? Until they sat down at their table and they opened up the catalog, or maybe they saw the catalog when they checked in, or maybe there was a display with boards of your different live auction packages. So one of the things that I have noticed in our new environment is the groups who promote the live auction packages online in advance, make them visible. I didn't say necessarily make them biddable, but make them visible so that people can review the live auction packages when they're perusing your online auction. I think that's incredibly powerful. I have so few questions about the packages now when I'm on stage. It's amazing to me. People don't say, hey, does this include airfare? Does this include this? Can I go now? Can I, none of those questions because it's all in print and they've had an opportunity to review it in the privacy of their own home and discuss it with their spouse or significant other. And I think a lot of times I find that people come to the event prepared to bid or not bid, but they become prepared and they know the values, they know, how good this was. I had a package just last week and I was really surprised. It was a 4-night stay at your choice of 2 different Fairmont properties in Hawaii. Now, that sounds like a wonderful, wonderful package, but it was a 4-night stay. And we sold it for $5,000. And that was probably a deal because we went in advance and looked up plugged in different dates at those Fairmonts. And some of those nights were like $1,500 a piece. And I actually had someone in the audience. I made the comment when I was describing the package before I started selling it. I said, I've seen the prices are really high. This is an incredible opportunity, folks. I've seen them as high as $1,000, $1,500. And a guy in the audience went like this. He said, higher. I said, oh, you've looked them up too. He said, yes, I know. It's much higher. Well, he ended up bidding $5,000 and bought the package, right? I mean, I would have never thought we would have got to $5,000 that quick and that easy. But people are doing their homework. So promote your live auction packages on your website in advance, okay? Now, whether you determine whether you're going to allow simulcast bidding or not, that's a whole different subject. We'll talk about that another day. But I would encourage you, make sure that those live auction packages are on display in your online catalog so people can see them, okay? And then the other thing I would tell you is travel packages are hot, folks. Selling lots and lots of travel. People are really into travel, and quite honestly, travel of all types. Okay, we have people who want to. I'm seeing a lot of domestic travel for the flexibility, but as we get going here, I'm seeing an incredible amount of packages to Sunshine. Hawaii, Mexico are incredibly popular right now. People really want to get out and about. I haven't seen as much Europe come up yet, but I totally anticipate it. One of the great tools in that travel is the consignment companies who help the nonprofits with procured trips and whatnot. And those are we use them a lot because it is easy for a committee to bless it, not have to get someone's, to coordinate it after the fact is easy because all the companies have their own concierge services, but also allows us to multiply it and sell multiple trips of the same type to when we have a lively bidding audience. And one of the great things about them is depending on the different groups that you talk to, consignment groups, anywhere from 18 months to 2 years to travel is still pretty standard. So people have plenty of time to make their arrangements, and also they're supporting your cause today, right? And many of the packages today also come without blackout dates. And so it's incredibly powerful stuff. So travel packages are hot. And the other thing I wanted to touch base on, and I want to reinforce one more time, folks, before I get into this, is if you have any questions, please feel free, type them in. Love to answer them right here on the air. And at worst, just type in hello. Let us know where you are tuning into from today. We really always enjoy having our friends on and seeing where everybody's tuning into. So one of the questions that I'm hearing a lot, right? And I'm going to say it quickly, but people, you hear this key phrase hybrid, and it's kind of like pivot was 2 years ago, right? Everybody's hybrid. Well, what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you what I believe hybrid is. Hybrid is combining the best practices of a gathering event with the best practices of a virtual event to design your event for your organization that works best, okay, to maximize your opportunities to reach your goals. And if your goals are fundraising, your goals are friend raising, whatever it is, combining the best practices of both virtual and gathering and making that one event, right? So one of the things that comes up regularly is, should we be live streaming our gathering event, right? And that's what a lot of people think of hybrid, is that you're going to be live streaming and you're going to be in person. It's definitely one feature. For me, it comes down to the question is, will live streaming your gathering event will it move you closer to your goals, or will it help you surpass your goals? So if your goals are financial, is it going to return more than it cost? Okay. Is it going to make your bottom line go higher? If your goal is financial, if your goal is to reach more people and do a donor development, reach more people that you can reach out later to and encourage them to support your cause. If you're just trying to get bodies, hey, if that's your goal, then maybe it'll work too. Excuse me, I got to laugh here. My buddy Garth Matson. It's demo day at Westside Golf Academy in Salmon Creek. Garth Matson, what a beauty. I'm surprised he's at the Westside Golf Academy today. It looks like a good day to be fishing. Aren't the springers running or something? I see my cherry blossom next door is blooming, so that implies the springers are running in the Willamette and on the Columbia. But Garth, thanks for tuning in today, buddy. And if I still played golf, I'd be headed to Westside Golf Academy today for the demo day. That is awesome. Great to see you, Garth. All right, so let's talk about live streaming. So what I'm saying is live streaming costs money for the most part, right? There's differing scales, right? How professional you want to make that presentation. I would tell you in our market, and they can be in your market too, there's nobody better than the AV department to help you live stream your event. If you are thinking about live streaming your event, whether that's 100% virtual or you're looking to add live streaming to your gathering event, or maybe you need some help with producing your appeal video. My friends at the AV department, they're the best, and that we work with, and they can do a phenomenal job for you. But they're not free, okay? And they shouldn't be free because what they provide is an incredible service. So my question is always going to be, is it helping you get closer to your goals or exceeding your goals? And that's what I want to know when you decide whether you're live streaming. So if it costs you an extra $3,500 to $10,000 to live stream your event, are you going to raise another $20,000 or $15,000 or $10,000 more because of that live stream? I think that there's some organizations that's true, right? I think that if you have an organization that you tapped into a donor community, that does not live in your immediate area, that have no chance of attending your gathering event, but they are committed to your organization and they would tune in to the live stream to learn more about your organization, to be a part of your fundraising efforts, by all means, get after it. But if you live streamed and did a virtual event during the lockdowns, and now all those people are in the room with you at your new gathering event, I don't know that live streaming makes sense, okay, if it's going to cost you more. Now, there are inexpensive ways to live stream, right? You can set up a camera in front of your auctioneer, in front of your podium, and you can put it on Twitch and live stream to your heart's content, and it costs very little. Not going to get not going to get an incredibly powerful return on that investment, though, in my opinion. So, make sure that the cost of live streaming is going to help you reach or surpass your goals. I think that's important. Okay. And then also I want to talk to you a little bit about watch parties. A few weeks ago, I shared with you, we had done a watch party with our good friends over at Hope Chinese Charter School. They gathered at Nebulous Tap Room in the Beaverton Town Square. It was fabulous. Brian and Mariana Williams are part owners in the building, or co-owners in the building, in the facility, and it was a fabulous success. We did some live shots from there and built that into our live stream. They were 100% virtual event, and so having a watch party that was in a public place where everybody was welcome, they could come, they could watch the live stream together. It gave them that sense of community. It was minimal cost, zero cost, quite honestly, for that school, with bringing everybody together like that. And it was a fun event, more casual. People just wanted to get together. Extremely successful. Now, we did one the other night with our buddies at Arcoitas. I think it was fabulous for gathering community. And I think the people who attended were great. They had a lot more young people, children, family oriented. It was a tremendous success. Um, so make sure that you consider hosting a watch party for your event if you are still live streaming, and many people are, because we had to make those commitments several months ago, and we chose to go live stream only or virtual only, and so consider watch parties. Watch parties can also help you around the country. If you have a group, we did a virtual a couple of years ago for our good friends at McKindu Children's Program, and we took them virtual. They have pockets of supporters in other parts of the country and in the world, and they had a watch party at a restaurant I'm going to say it wrong, though. Laugh at me if she's on the call with us today, but in Maryland. And they had about 30 or 40 people come together at a restaurant to watch the live stream, and it was hugely successful. Well, now post-COVID, we're going to get back together in person. We don't want to lose those people in Maryland. They can't come to the in-person event, so maybe live streaming will make sense to incorporate those folks, and they're having a watch party. So don't miss the watch party deal. Hey, the other thing I want to mention to you is golf season is coming up. So if you're still watching there, Garthy, golf season is almost in front of us. The Masters just this weekend. What a glorious tournament that was. What a glorious champion we have in Scotty Scheffler. Lots of fun, but here in the Northwest, I think the Masters kind of signals the beginning of golf season for a lot of folks. And so we're thinking and starting to plan, or we're not starting, we're deep into the planning of our fundraising golf tournaments. And I just want to share with you, I got invited by our buddies over at Octria.com to do a webinar for them on how to the kind of the 101s of fundraising golf tournaments. And so I'm honored to be asked by them, and I will be sharing some tidbits and things that I've learned over the last 30 some odd years of producing golf events around the United States, and how you can actually use your auction software to help you manage those events. I'm managing 2 of the 3 or 4 events that I'm doing this summer. We're a couple of fundraising events that we're managing those through Octria. And so Wednesday, April 27th at 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, because I know we have some viewers that watch from other parts of the country, but go to the Octria website at Octria.com, and you can join us on the webinar, and we'll just be sharing some tidbits, some kind of golf tournament 101, because that environment's changed too, right, folks? I mean, golf tournaments are wonderful tools if you know how to raise money using them. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope you will join us. Hey, folks, that's all I've got today. I'm checking. I don't see any. I see my buddy Garth giving me a love you, pal. Always a pleasure, Garthy. I don't see any other questions. I'll give you just a couple of seconds to fire off any. If you do, I would love to answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to remind you that Fundraising BIDness Talk is live on Wednesdays right here at noon Pacific Daylight Time. And if you missed a show and you want to go back and check it out, you can always go to fundraisingbidnesstalk.com, and all 54 of the episodes reside there. And it's kind of fun to look at some of the ones I did the first few weeks when we were just knee deep into COVID, and some of the more upbeat things I have to talk about today. So, and then as always, check out our company site at gevents.llc.com. There's see if you some examples, some thoughts of things that we're doing. And if you'd like to get together and talk about your fundraising, whether it's an auction or a fundraising golf tournament, happy to do that. There's actually a scheduling application right there on the G Events website, and schedule a 30-minute Zoom, hour Zoom, whatever works for you. We'd love to talk to you about your event, see if we can help you raise more money. All right. And as I say, it does not matter where you start the bidding. It's all about where you finish. Thanks for joining us today, folks. We appreciate it, and we wish you all the best, and hope those, as my buddy Lori at Octria would say, we hope those bids soar. Have a great day.